My name's Susie Johns, and today I've just received 2 packages of art materials that I ordered from the smaller one from Ken Bromley and the larger one from Cass Arts, which are 2 of my favourite suppliers here in the UK. So I'm going to unbox them and try out some of the materials. And I'm quite excited because some of the materials that I ordered are things that I've never tried before. This box is a very big one, and that's because I know it contains a large archival box. Let's see if I can get to grips with this. So, a nice large box which I can store finished drawings in, and some clear sleeves to protect my drawings when I put them away. So, and it's also got a small packet of things, and so let's unpack these 2 boxes. So I'll put this batch to one side and start with a scale divider. So this consists of 2 long pieces of painted wood, and there's a brass screw to adjust them. And there are 11 holes, 11 settings. And it says on the packaging that you can scale pictures in ratios from 4:1 down to 1:4. In other words, you can scale a picture up or you can scale a picture down. So I'll just give you an idea of how this works in scaling up a picture. I'm measuring from the centre to the top to give me an idea of the scale of the whole rectangle and transferring this to my paper. You can see that I have drawn vertical, horizontal and diagonal lines on my source picture, and then the same on my piece of paper. And the way the scaling up works is that you take this measurement using one end of the contraption, and at the other end that gives you the larger ratio. Next out of the packet are these sandpaper blocks. I've bought 2, I don't know why. Normally I would use something like an emery board or a piece of sandpaper like this, but I've just thought it would be quite nice to have a purpose-made sandpaper block. Take the paper off and you can see there's a whole stack of little pieces of sandpaper stapled to a wooden handle. So I've got a nitram charcoal stick here, and I'm just rubbing the tip on the sandpaper and it sharpens up quite nicely. I've put a piece of paper underneath just to protect the work surface from all that charcoal dust, but I'm also going to use it in a minute, so I'll use the nice sharpened charcoal to draw with, but then tip the charcoal dust, don't waste it, tip that onto your paper, and you'll see that you can just rub it and create lovely areas of tone. The next item is a pencil extender. This is a really handy little accessory. You use it for pencils that have become too short to sort of comfortably hold, and you just pop it in and push up the ring to sort of hold it tightly in place. And you can also use it for short pieces of graphite, which you can see on the table there. It's much more comfortable to hold a long pencil, and so this clever little gadget extends the life of your pencils. The next item is a pack of paper stumps. It says here that they're made from rice paper and that they're good for blending charcoal, pastels and graphite. So if we just get them out, you can see that there's 3 different sizes, a kind of thick one, a medium sized one and a thin one. I'm going to try them to see how they work. I'll start with some graphite, just scribble some marks on this piece of paper. And now some charcoal and coloured pencil. And now I'll just try using the blending stumps just to see if they're good at smudging the different materials. And now for this little package from Cass Arts, which contains 2 packs of drawing pens. This is supposed to be a set of 6 tonal greys. It's actually 5 shades of grey plus a blender. There are 2 cool greys, 2 warm greys and a black. I think it would be actually useful if the colour was printed on the pen. Instead there's just the shade number, so you have to make yourself a key or refer back to a shade chart. What I'm going to do is just try them out on a page in my sketchbook and then try them with the blender and maybe with some water. What I like about these pens is this nice dual tip. At one end, a flexible brush tip for broad sweeping strokes, and at the other end, a much finer, firmer tip, which makes for a nice range of different marks. So now I've made a swatch of each of the pens to test out their sort of mark making abilities. I'm using the blender pen to see how much it dissolves and changes them. I'm also going to just try with plain water and to see how that affects them. I think I prefer actually the way it dissolves the pens. I'm using this Cass Art own brand size 6 sable brush for this. The other set of pens are these line makers. They contain permanent ink, unlike the previous set, which were water-based. And there's a range of sizes from this 0.5 up to a 0.8 millimetre. So I'm just testing out the mark-making capabilities of these. Yes, these are great. They go on very smoothly on the cartridge paper and give a very consistent line. So I'm going to be finding these very useful, particularly the broader ones, the 05 and the 08, I think, rather than the very fine ones. But they're all really nice to use. The next item I'm going to test is these blender pens. They're specifically designed for use with pencils, both graphite and coloured pencils, and there's 2 different thicknesses of pen. So I'm going to just lay down some marks. I'm starting with coloured pencils. I've got a couple of shades of blue here, and I'm going to just see how the blender pens perform with the coloured pencils. Well, it was very effective with the coloured pencil, although it did change the colour quite a lot. But it's particularly effective, I think, with the graphite pencil. I've never thought of using a blender pen with graphite pencil before, but I think it's quite good. So the next item is transfer paper. This is a bit like carbon paper, and old-fashioned carbon paper for those who remember it. But unlike conventional carbon paper, this is not greasy and it can be erased. I'll try it out. So I'm just going to tape a piece to my drawing paper, my cartridge paper, just with a couple of pieces of masking tape, and then I've made a photocopy of a photograph, and I'm just going to tape that on top, and then use a hard pencil, I think this one's an HB, to outline the main features, the shape of the head, shoulders, and so forth, and that will transfer onto my cartridge paper beneath. So you can see it's transferred quite well, giving me a good framework to begin my drawing. So after a short drawing interlude, I'll get back to the unboxing. This is a pack of watercolour paper from Ken Bromley, and I've bought this before. It's an excellent way to try out different kinds of watercolour paper. So there are 6 sheets of Bockingford paper from a £90 knot, which is quite lightweight, through to some £140 knot rough, hot pressed, and a creamy coloured one, and then a piece of £200 knot, or otherwise known as cold pressed paper. All of those are very good, cellulose based. And then there's some Arche aquarelle. There's 3 sheets of this, from a £90 hot pressed to £140 cold pressed and £140 rough. And then there's some Saunders Waterford paper, which is really lovely, with the full sheet has 4 decal edges, but these are just smaller pieces. They're about 14 by 19 centimetres, by the way. Then there's some Saunders Waterford High White, which is got a whiteness enhancer. I suppose that's some sort of bleach, I don't know. Milford paper, this is a mould made 100% cotton paper. Then Hahnemühle Leonardo, this is nice and heavy and with a deckled edge. Then there's some Ken Bromley practice paper, which is a cold pressed paper. Then this botanical extra smooth, really beautiful hot pressed paper. Fabriano Artistico, 3 sheets of that, a £90 hot pressed, £140 cold pressed, and £140 rough. And then there's small pieces of this Moulin de Roy, which is 100% cotton paper, really nice. It's labelled as vegan, but I think some of the other papers are vegan as well, if you're interested in that. And then the Hahnemühle watercolour paper, 3 sheets of this, a hot pressed, a cold pressed, and a rough. I really recommend this pack of paper. It's excellent value and a great way of trying out different types of paper. The final items in the pack were 2 Pro Arte watercolour brushes, a size 12 and a size 2. I'll save that test for another day, but I can say that they're very nice paint brushes. So I hope you've enjoyed this, and if you have, please do subscribe and check out my other videos. Thank you.